This podcast is a Mutant Donkey production. Please consider supporting our Patreon at www.patreon.com/Mutant Donkey. You can follow us on Twitter at @mutant_donkey. We also have a presence on YouTube on the YouTube Mutant Donkey channel. Thank you.
Exquisite.
Yeah. What's up? Welcome to Mutant Donkey channel. What's up? What's up? Okay, Mupi, your turn.
No.
Try saying what's up. Come on. Right?
All right,
Yeah,
let's
but
do
it's
this.
better because you have me this time.
Okay, let's do it. Welcome to the Mutant Donkey podcast and shit. I mean, what?
I was gonna say, who's me this time?
It's a perfect start.
That's great. Let's see. So we have Ethan from California.
Howdy.
We got Andrewsito or Andrew from Texas.
Yes, sir.
We got newcomer Mupi from Texas.
Salutations.
And we have Ethansito from Cali, Texas. Right?
What?
From Texas.
Yeah.
Is that him?
Oh wow. Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Perfect. So, okay, I guess we can get started. So, are we doing anything new this time? Like last time we went around the table, we introduced everybody, right? But I think that people want to talk a little bit more about themselves and their interests, right? This time around?
Sure, yeah, that works great.
Okay, so you think California, you want to get us started on that front? Tell us about you and what you're interested in right now, what you're doing.
All right, well, I am Ethan. I am a writer and a teacher. And right now, over the last little bit, I've been getting into a couple of different games that I've been enjoying quite a bit. Surviving Mars, which actually took me back and got me playing some Kerbal Space Program again.
Cool.
Well, I think Ethan from Texas played that too. Really?
Oh, they're both a lot of fun. I've kind of been bouncing around between TV shows, but I stumbled across one that my son and I have really been enjoying. I've got a 6-year-old who it's called Knife or Death.
Knife or Death? That's for 6-year-olds?
Well, if you saw it, you'd understand that it is clearly being developed for a 6-year-old mentality. But
I mean, I'm not judging. Mupi and I watch Nightmare Texas or whatever that is. So, I mean, Midnight Texas. Sorry,
Nightmare.
but please
Fair
continue.
enough.
Sorry.
Well, it's just this show where it's from the History Channel, and it's a spin-off of their show Forged in Fire, which is kind of interesting. You get to see people, blacksmiths making blades and weapons and stuff like that. And fortunately, I always found a lot of the judges on there to be kind of tough to swallow. They're a little much for me. But
where they have judges?
They do, because you've got to judge the safety.
Oh, I thought it was his
usability of the
documentary on people making weapons and stuff.
No, it's a competition show.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. And so this is like an extension of it, where people that have like knives and swords go on like these obstacle courses to like chop stuff. And
cool.
Yeah, so you get to see, and every week it's the same. You've got a bunch of people that are like in the competition scene. They're really big on it. I didn't even know that such a sport existed. And then you've always got like one person in a costume. And my son and I really enjoy watching that. So it's been interesting.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that show existed. That sounds really interesting. I think I'm gonna have to. What was the name again? Death by
Knife or Death.
There, Knife or Death.
And all the competitions are puns based on cutting or chopping or knifing.
Did you ever see that Netflix show? Well, it's not a Netflix show, but it was like a competition also, like called Steampunked.
Oh, yes. Yes, and again...
What?
It was interesting. My wife and I, it was the concept of calling people makers.
Oh, yeah.
Because, it's...
I make all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
All the
usually right after a cup of coffee in the morning.
Usually after my colonoscopy, I can make real easily, yeah.
But, we watched that. But on the gaming front, I was kind of laughing. It turns out that NASA has been really, really wise in never hiring me to do anything for them at any capacity. because no matter how much I play Kerbal Space Program, I do nothing more than just create, 120-foot sticks of dynamite and Surviving Mars, which is a colony building game. I've done nothing except for build these magnificent little slaughterhouses on Mars. So, yeah, NASA, good job not hiring me.
Well, Kerbal Space Program is one of the highest rated games on PC Gamer magazine. And I've never played it, but is it that good? Really?
It is a lot of fun. It's almost a straight physics simulator.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that it is really good, and as a result, if you don't get things right, you get to see these magnificent explosions. I think my first rocket, I forgot. I put a nose cone, a fuel tank, and a rocket, and I was like, all right, let's do this thing. And it went way high up, but then I realized that I didn't have any kind of ejector system, and so all I had to do was just watch my little guy, freaking out as he's, got a one-way ticket to the center of the world.
That's awesome. That's kind of mean too.
It is, but you get over it.
Okay, so it's a lot more specific, a lot more realistic than Empyrean. I know you played a little bit on Empyrean. I don't know if you got to mess around with the shipbuilding system of Empyrean, and if you compare it to Kerbal or no.
No, with Imperium it's a lot more forgiving because it's just sort of assumed that you're kind of doing it partially for looks and partially for the style or whatever, but it's no, with Kerbal it is straight up. If you don't put fins on it, that thing's going nose over tail and then right into the ocean.
Well, I want to get Ethan from Texas input on this because I don't think he played that game, but he played a different one. It was like a space engineering game, is that right? Maybe?
Yeah, I played a space engineering game, but it was more like Empyrean than it was like Kerbal.
So in that one you don't get to build spaceships, or what do you build in that game?
Well, it worked a lot like Empyrean, and had the blocks that you build spaceships with.
Okay.
It just wasn't like a NASA simulator, basically.
Okay, so it wasn't as realistic as what the other Ethan's talking about.
It was more like the sci-fi colonize a planet, whatever.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you had to go over there and colonize it?
Yeah, except Alec and I would never make it to the planet.
Oh, no? So you never made it to the planet?
We would spawn in like a life pod or whatever that was like 10 minutes away from the planet. And then we would have to fly there in a ship that was like about to fall apart. And then we'd always have issues landing and then blow up.
So you never actually made a landing on Mars?
No.
Or did you make the landing at about 10 times the speed of sound?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's because of the thinner atmosphere, right? You don't have as much air resistance, so you land really hard. I don't know.
Right.
Difficult. So, but anyway, here's a fun fact. Andrew worked for NASA.
Yeah, I was a scientist at NASA, and you guys both fit in perfectly. We're all the same.
All right, yeah. Andrew, you worked at NASA, and this was in the news this week, and I wanted to bring it up. But, of course, the Opportunity rover sent its last message this week, which was, my batteries are low, and it is getting dark.
It's getting dark.
And that's very sad. Except I think what the part that's incredibly sad is that there is a programmer at NASA that created that line of text to be delivered.
Yes.
It also made Opportunity sing itself happy birthday every year.
Oh, man.
There is one guy at NASA that really needs help, and we've got to find him, and we've got to get him the help he needs.
No, he's a rock star. Whoever that guy is basking in the sun right now and loving life. All of his hard work has just finally paid off. Can you imagine waiting for that all this time?
No kidding.
He was probably sitting somewhere just wondering if that news was going to break. Like, are they going to tell people that I said that?
Like, yep.
Well, I want to make sure that somebody gives that guy a hug on some level because.
Yeah, he's a hero, a real American hero.
By the way, Anne didn't know that show existed. And I did, because they showed that show in Colombia back in the day, and she never watched it. I guess in Louisiana they didn't play it. So,
The Greatest American Hero?
Yeah, because I was looking at it and it looked a little bit, because I was watching at the trailer for Shazam, and I thought that the costume maybe looked a little bit similar to that Greatest American, the whole red with the little logo on the thing.
Yeah, the little logo on the chest.
Yep.
So I thought it looked a little bit similar. I don't know. They're both kind of like really do-gooders, right? Like really vanilla kind of do-gooders.
Oh yeah, super vanilla.
So it kind of reminded me of that when I talked to Anne. She's like, I have no clue who the Greatest American Hero is. So I played her the opening scene.
Well, I remember watching that show back in the day, and I was, because the actor that was involved, I always thought that it was a made-for-TV version of Disney's old movie Condor Man.
Oh, Condor
yeah.
Man.
Because they both had the kind of wiry, curly hair, and they were both completely inept at what they were doing. It was like,
Yep.
is this just him
real.
with like actual superpowers, or?
Yep.
Because I really liked the boat. If we could just get the boat in Greatest American Hero, that would be what I want.
If only it had gone a little bit longer.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's continue around the table. We gotta introduce Mupi, because this is the first time that Mupi is in our podcast. So hi, Mupi. Tell us
Hello.
what you're about and what are you interested in and what you're doing.
Okay, I am Mupi. I love video games and I'm a dancer. I play a lot
She made
of...
me dance, by the way, this past
did.
week.
Yeah,
It was
I
a
did.
direct- I was dancing ballet on my tiptoes, like a
I'm
ballerina.
Took the
Yeah.
ballet class and his
And
hands look like claws.
Yeah, I was doing great, right? That was awesome.
Sure.
Let's be honest. Most of Andreas looks like claw.
Whatever, man. I was rocking that floor, man. All of Mupi's friends were like, "Yeah, look at that, look at that."
We were all laughing at him.
Great.
So
That's my
yeah,
dream.
I'm a dancer. I do tap, ballet, contemporary, jazz, and some hip hop. Yes, and then I play video games on Steam, and I'll also play Roblox. Definitely.
And most important of all, you play what?
What?
What's the most important game that you play? You don't remember?
No.
What do you mean, no?
What?
You play Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, okay, yeah. I play Dungeons and Dragons.
And it's
You want-
clearly very important to you.
Definitely.
It is. You don't want to tell us about your character in D&D?
Okay, my character's name is Jade Storm. She is a half-elf druid.
She's got a pet cat or something?
I have a tiger named Slade.
Oh, yeah. And he likes to eat people, right?
Jaden Slade. Yes, correct.
Okay.
Oh, good lord, it does rhyme, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
How did I not pick up on that?
You got it. So, okay. Well, let's go back to Eat from California. Let's see. Did you you said you wanted to talk about some websites or some books that you're reading, or?
Oh, yeah. So I've come across a couple of sites as a writer. You're always kind of on the lookout to get, you want people to review your books so that you can get a, more of an audience going. And I stumbled across this website. It is called thefantasyinn.com.
Okay.
It just all that, and it does a lot of independent authors that are out there. They specialize in that. The part that kind of makes this one special, and the part that really attracted me to it, and that I love, is there's a section called Walls Bar,
Okay.
and one of the people that
Dear Brandy
does
Jane
these
Liqueurs.
reviews.
Okay.
Right. So she will review a book. She has really good reviews. They're very kind of even-handed and they're, really respectable.
Mm-hmm.
But then she creates a custom cocktail based on the book.
Oh. Okay.
So a couple of times I've gone in and I've just been like, well, I liked the drink, so now I got to check out the book. And I had a lot of fun doing that. And it was one of those things where there's a couple of people that are out there doing that, where they're trying to kind of get crossover between, the stuff you like from, literature and kind of bringing in some other experiences to go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really kind of encouraging to see that there are people out there that are now kind of innovating in the field. And a lot of the drinks are a lot of fun. A lot of the books that she reviews are a lot of fun.
Okay.
And, you just kind of want to get the word out there that these people exist.
So these authors that are on this website, where do they come from? Are they self-published, or are they regular authors, or how does it work?
Most of them are self-published, but they're kind of the high end of self-published. This
Okay.
isn't the I was seduced by a T-Rex millionaire who also drove a Ferrari.
Yeah.
These are the people that are sort of, either the up-and-comers that are going to start getting the contracts and going to traditional publishing, or they're just the people that are, flying under the radar, doing their own thing, and really kind of putting out, something that's pretty special, if not, they're the books that you'd want to read, but, people would be less likely to take a chance on them because of, the subject matter is a little bit off, or maybe they're not
Okay.
kind of a traditional narrative, or, they're a little bit different. And another reason that I really, really like that is that you can get those, again, those different points of view and those different voices out there.
Okay.
And I more than anything like to help encourage and promote that sort of thing.
So does this work kind of like crowdfunding? What do you pay, or who do you pay to read these books that are on this website?
Most of the time you just go to Amazon.
Oh, okay.
They have the links through the sites.
Okay, gotcha.
And these are some really it's some really fun stuff.
So are you thinking of publishing anything on this site?
Well, I've been in contact. I would love to get my novel reviewed on it.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, even if the review never went up, I just want to see what drinks you'd make based on it.
You want to give us a title for your novel?
It is Trench, a fantasy novel of epic inconsequence.
Okay, and a little synopsis.
Oh, it's so the idea is it's a whole world of magic and wonder and amazing sights and incredible adventure, and you only get to see about 200 yards of it. Because the characters are stuck in basically a never-ending cycle of trench warfare.
Oh man.
And it's sort of a comedy based on the desperation of people that are pretty sure they're not going to live to see their 30th birthday.
Yeah, kind of like All Quiet on the Western Front with fantasy.
Yes.
Okay.
And a lot more drinking.
A lot more drinking, yeah. Those poor boys didn't get to drink enough, or if any.
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll add this link to the show notes then, thefantasyinn.com. So,
I'd really appreciate it, because they deserve all the attention they get.
All right, we got them in there. I'm writing stuff down as we're doing this, guys, so I'm writing anything that we need to post or anything. So let's go to Andrewsito from Texas. What are you reading? Are you reading anything, or is there any literature you want to talk about? Or any
So
websites?
I needed a pseudo brain break from all my MBA readings, and I took a deep dive into some really intense literature. I'm reading the Troll Hunter book.
From that
I don't know if
cheesy
you
movie
guys-
Troll that we saw on Netflix?
No, it's actually Guillermo del Toro.
Oh,
and,
it is?
And somebody else that he partnered up with made a cartoon series on Netflix, which
Okay.
went for 2 or 3 seasons. It ended. It was really good. The book is, it's different. It's not incredibly different, but different enough that it's pretty cool. I mean, it's young adult type stuff. It's pretty light, so it's a break from regular adult type things, but it's pretty good.
So it should be a pretty
recommend
easy
it.
read then. Flows pretty well.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. And
So, aside from my MBA stuff, that's pretty much the only thing I've been reading.
okay. And then how about Mupi? Mupi, are you reading anything, or any websites you'd like to talk about?
I'm not reading anything currently.
No, but normally what do you like to read?
I like to read graphic novels.
Which ones? Please don't say Walking Dead.
What's wrong with The Walking Dead?
Nothing. Apparently I'm a bad parent. Okay.
Yeah.
There's evidence to support that at this point.
Yeah, there's a picture whenever the hurricane hit Houston. Yeah. We were out of things to do, so Mupi was reading The Walking Dead with her dog next to her.
I remember that.
Yep. So let's see, Ethan from Texas. Is there anything you're reading or any websites you want to talk about?
Why don't you just say Ethansito?
Okay, Ethansito is Ethan from Texas from now on. Here you go.
Okay. Well, recently I've been reading this one sci-fi novel called Hope Reborn, and it's about this planet that got colonized by humans.
Okay.
But then something happened where contact between the two planets got cut off, and then society on the colonized planet kind of fell apart and went backwards. So there's all like the futuristic technology is like lost in the rubble.
Okay.
And they've gone back to kind of like a feudalism sort of system.
Okay.
With like repeating rifles and stuff.
How are you enjoying that?
Oh, that's pretty good so far.
If you are really enjoying it, Orson Scott Card, the guy that wrote Ender's Game, has another book called Treason, and it's similar to that. The idea is that these, I can't remember if it's 12 or 16 families, were part of this galactic, aristocracy. Think of like, Dune's, house system. And they were all traitors against it, so they were all exiled to this planet where they had to be basically reverted back to this primitive state, and then they had to fight each other to produce stuff that the galaxy wanted to, basically earn material so they could get off of the planet. The first one to get off the planet got to come back, and all the other ones would get wiped out.
Whoa.
Really fun read.
Huh.
That sounds pretty cool.
Is that a young adult novel or is that a regular novel?
Regular novel, but it's, again, with Orson Scott Card, there's enough crossover there where you could read it if you were a younger reader, and while there's some really strange bits to it, it wouldn't be that tricky.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, I guess it's my turn to talk about some books on a website. Do you guys know Kevin J. Anderson, the author?
Not personally.
I mean, do you know of Kevin J. Anderson?
I've heard the name.
I think that he wrote some fan fiction for Star Wars and stuff like that. I think, but he also wrote. I met him. I didn't know who the guy was. I met him at Comic Palooza here in Houston like 3 years ago, and then he showed me his book called The Edge of the World, and it's a series of 3 books where it's gonna have like a Christian society, but not Christian because he doesn't. Religions are like mythological, so they don't relate one to one. But it's similar to the relationship between Christians and Muslims, and they each occupy part of the same world. And so it's the relationship that happens, and there's a misunderstanding, and they go to war, and that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to spoil it more, but it's just the adventures that they have trying to discover the world. So it's a very kind of like Magellan or Christopher Columbus kind of thing, where they're trying to discover the world, and at the same time, they have to deal with each other's politics. So that is kind of interesting. And then the other author I want to talk about is C.S. Friedman, which until recently I didn't know was a woman because I don't really research the authors normally. I just enjoy the read, and I always assumed that it was a man. And I read the Cold Fire trilogy about 12, 13 years ago, and it's insanely good. But it's written from a man's point of view. That's why I always assumed that the author was a man. And just recently when I picked up her next trilogy, which is the Magister trilogy, I realized she was a woman. And she's an exceptional writer. She's a very unassuming writer, and she's got a very commanding vocabulary. And it's not extravagant. It's just she writes well. She speaks well, basically. And the Magic trilogy, it's a story about more of a woman, like a witch, as she becomes like a sorcerer. But the problem in that world, sorcerers, whenever they cast spells, they're using people's life force to cast spells because they don't. Basically, their own flame is extinguished, so they link up to random people, and whenever they cast a spell, they're stealing their life force until they kill them. And then once they kill them, they have to jump from person to person as they use their magic. And I don't know. It's interesting because they become immortal and power hungry, and they get dehumanized. And normally it's only a men's world, and she's like the first one to be that kind of sorcerer. So there's a stigma there. So their books are extremely well written. I'm on the 3rd one right now, and actually Anne is starting to read the first one, or she's almost done with the first one. So,
and it's really fun to come across those ones that are kind of high concept, sort of challenge what you've seen umpteen times in other books.
It's like a new take on magic, but it's a take that is very interesting because, you always think magic is very overpowered, right? Like, for example, in D&D, but except you only get so many spells a day. But in this case, every time you cast a spell, you have to realize you're killing somebody slowly who's linked to you. I mean, you're using their life force. So I don't know, that premise is very interesting to me. It's almost like a vampire feeding off of a victim, It's kind of interesting. So, and then the other thing I want to talk about really quick is I wanted to plug in my friend John's website, and I'm going to put it in the show notes. And it's called The Increasingly Improbable Survival of Chance Coppertoe. And Chance Coppertoe is the rogue that is in our D&D campaign. Technically we play Pathfinder, but I just call it all D&D anyway. Doesn't really matter. But and so he started a blog based on our campaign because there were so many things, and we have about 13 people in this campaign. Yes. So we got to track down every detail of everything. So he's a really good sport, and he has taken it upon himself to write down everything. So if you go to the blog, you'll see pictures and descriptions of characters and how they meet and where they're going, and it's at Blogspot. I think Blogspot is the client that hosts it, right? So it's like notes-of-chance.blogspot.com. I'll put that on the show notes in case anybody ever wants to follow our adventure. That's where our stuff is.
Well, and I love the title alone is worth the price of admission there.
Yep, and then he's got the graphic. I drew a wanted poster because his character was framed for the murder of the king's cousin. So I drew a little poster of his character stepping on the dead cousin with a knife sticking out of the guy's back, and so he's been stopping these wanted posters from following him around. So he's been like hijacking the people that bring the posters in, and so far he hasn't gotten caught. So we'll see what happens.
I was just going to ask if any of your artwork was going to be on the blog.
Yes. Actually, John takes pictures of all this stuff, so there's going to be... Yeah, because I normally do like hand sketches of where people are going, and this is kind of how I get started with the Patreon. I don't know how to pronounce that word. But it's because I was starting to do sketches for this thing, and then John decided to DM his own campaign, and he was starting to purchase like graphics from random websites. And I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, oh, I just bought this thing. I'm like, dude, I can make that for you. And then I was thinking, maybe other people have needs of that same service. Gamers that are not great at drawing, or they don't have as much creativity or imagination, that they do have it in terms of telling a story, but maybe they want to accompany it with some art. So the Patreon is there to serve gamers of all kinds that have need of somebody to draw stuff for them to go along with their literature, basically. And I can provide some literature too if they need, but I'm not a writer per se. I'm more of an artist than a writer anyway. But
no, and that's great because oftentimes you get those situations where people are trying to go out and kind of, add a little bit of texture and depth to whatever it is that they're doing. And
I like
that idea.
I mean, a little picture goes a long way. I mean, whenever I'm talking about something and then I just give everybody a little picture of something, like, oh yeah, this is what it looks like. It makes a big difference. So, but no, that's fine. All right, so I guess that was my plug-in for today. Anybody else want to talk about any books or websites before we move on to the next section? This has been a sneak peek of episode 2 of the Mutant Donkey podcast. If you'd like to hear more, please consider subscribing or supporting us at www.patreon.com/mutantdonkey. Thank you.